Your father needs you and a family. Comes first, those words from my dad echoed in me head as I stared at my resignation letter after 8 years building my nursing career in Boston. I was giving it all up because of a guilt-laden phone call from back home. In Minnesota, my name is Anand. At 33, I thought I'd finally found my place in life. I had a great job at a prestigious hospital, close friends who felt like family, and a cozy apartment overlooked the harbor. Then came Thickle that changed. Deborah's health is declining me, Dad had said, his voice heavy with practiced concern. Your brothers are too busy with their own families and you're only one with medical training. You understand what we're dealing with. Unanied you whore, I remembered. How my hands had trembled as I listened to him outline the reasons I needed to come home, how Deborah, my stepmother of 15 years, couldn't manage the house anymore. How they needed someone with medical knowledge to coordinate her care, how families should take care of family. Way didn't mention was why my bros. And Peter couldn't help despite living just 20 minutes away, or why they couldn't hire professional help with the money from my dad's successful canstric business, or why this was so urgent when Deborah had been managing her chronic conditions for years. But guilt is a powerful motive when wielded by a parent who knows exactly which buttons topish. Remember how much we supported you through nursing school, he reminded. Menno, it's time to give back to the family. So here I was, boxing up my life trying to explain to my bewildered friends why I had to leave my best friend. Sarah thought I was crazy. They're manipulating you, she'd said over our last coffee together. You know that, right? They've got 2 sons right there in town, but they're guilt tripping you into giving up your whole life deep down. I knew she was right, but every time I considered backing out, I remembered my dad's voice, the implied this subtle reminder of familiar obligations the hospital had. Being understanding but disappointed, will miss you in the supervisor had said. Not many nurture your skills with difficult kisses. I folded the resignation letter and slipped it into an envelope. 8 years building a reputation of becoming known as the nurse you could count on. Crisis of creating a life. I loved a Lafayette sacrificed because family comes first. The reality of moving back home hit me the moment I pulled into the. My dad stood on the porch notifying to help with my boxers while Deborah watched from behind the living room window, already frowning at how I'd parked my car. You'll have to move that way. My dad's first words to me, Deborah needs clear access to get her car out. No hello, no thank you for coming to see me to take racism. I'd given up my apartment, put most of my furniture in storage, and driven 12 hours to get here my cat. Luna was still anxious from the long drive mowing in her carrier, but a pressing issue was where I'd parked me car. The basement apartment is ready, me dad said, finally coming down the steps. So cleared out some of the old boxer's boot tool, need to clean it up a bit. The basement apartment, I'd forgotten a boothy space stamp. Dark and last a renovitsimi time in the early 90s, a far from my sunny Boston apartment with each arbor views. Deborah needs help with her medication schedule. He can me down the basement stairs, and the house needs a thorough cleaning. Can't manage the way she used to. And I looked around the musty space that was supposed to be my new home. The apartment was basically one room with a bathroom that had seen better days. The carpet smelled like mothballs and the windows were tiny rectangles. Near the ceiling that barely let in any light, I thought Deborah just needed help with medical care. I said, setting Lonescarie down, you didn't mention housekeeping. Family helps family en oyor. Not too good for housework, are you? There it was again. That guilt-inducing tone that had worked so well over the phone, but somehow it hit differently in person standing in a musty basement. While my professional life fell apart, my phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. Made it okay, place as bad as you. Before I could reply, my dad cleared his throat. Deborah needs help with her breakfast medications in the morning. Be upstairs by 7 a.m. Sharpened. Make sure that cat doesn't make a mess down her as he climbed the stairs. I heard Deborah's voice from above. Frank, tell her she needs to vacuum down there before she brings in any more boxers. I can hear her feet crunching on dirt from feet. I looked at Luna, who stared back with her usual unimpressed. The first week set the tone for everything that followed. Each morning started with Deborah's medication Sudol, but that was just the beginning. Suddenly, I was responsible for cleaning the entire house, grocery shopping, cooking meals, doing laundry, and maintaining the yard, all while I wasn't doing any of it correctly. That's not how you fold towels, Deborah would say, hovering over Miss Holder. And you're using too much detergent. No wonder you're still sick. You can't manage bossy housework, my nursing skill. Though once they'd supposedly desperately need Beryl utilized Deborah's declining health mainly seemed to mean she didn't want to do housework anymore. She had no problem driving to her weekly bridge club or spending hours at the mall. My dad remained conspicuously absent during the day, working long hours at his construction business, but he was quick to side with Deborah whenever. Iris said, Constance, your stepmom has high standards, she'd say. Is it so wrong to want things done properly? Maybe if you were more attentive to details in your own life. Have settled down by now. The digs about my single status were constant as if my successful nursing career meant nothing without a husband. Meanwhile, Meat Brothers lived their life. Jack stopped by once to go. Look at me cleaning windows and made hasty excuse about getting back to his family. At least some of us have real responsibilities. Deborah commented, after he left I tried calling Peter hoping for some support, but he just laughed. Better you than me, sis. You know how Deborah gets these. I did know, like when she basement apartment while I was out. Her prescriptions claiming my clutter was affecting her anxiety. Or one. She threw away my favorite coffee mug because it didn't match her. Kitchen aesthetics. Sarah kept telling me to live via a highly qualified ICU nurse. She texted your old supervisor, called asking if you'd reconsider. They haven't filled position yet, but every time I thought about leaving, guilt held me back. Family comes first, the mantra I'd been raised with. Even when family treated you like an unpaid servant, the breaking point came exactly 1 month after I moved in. I overheard on the phone with her sister while I was weeding her prized rose garden. Frank was so clever, she was saying, getting Anna to come back by exaggerating my health issues. Now we have a free housekeeper who can complain because she's family. Honestly, she's not very good at it. Some people just don't understand proper housekeeping. My hands trembled as I pulled weeds from Deborah's precious garden, her words echoing in my head. Free housekeeper. Exaggerating health issues. They'd manipulated me into giving up my entire life, not because they needed medical help, but because they wanted an unpaid servant that evening while dinner. Chicken had to be grilled exactly the way Deborah liked it. I started making notes on my phone. Every chore, every criticism, every dismissivement. I recorded the hours spent cleaning versus any actual medical care Deborah needed. I even started checking your social media. Tennis club, photos hopping spree, bridge club meetings, some health races. The chickens dry again. Deborah Hannenstadt dinner pushing a plate away Riliana for someone who managed to earn a nursing degree. You think you could master basic cooking? I looked at my dad waiting to defend me. Instead, he just passed Deborah the salt without looking up, and the roses aren't pruned properly. She continued, I saw you out there just hacking away, no technique at all. I spent 3 hours in that garden, I said quietly, well, clearly not doing anything useful. Oh, and the windows need cleaning again. I can see streaks from here. I set down my... How your health issues never prevent you from inspecting my cleaning but somehow stop you from doing any... The silence that followed was deafening. My dad's fork paused halfway to his mouth. What did you just say? Deborah's voice was dangerously quiet. I heard y'all on the phone earlier bragging about how clever you both were, exaggerating your health problems to get me here. I don't know what you think you heard. I heard now about manipulating me into becoming your free housekeeper, about at how easy it was to guilt mine toe giving up my career. My dad finally looked up. Now, wait a minute. No, you wait a minute. Interrupted. I'm an ICU nurse. Did you really think I wouldn't notice that Deborah's declining health miraculous? There's shopping, two-door tennis to play. I have good days and bad days. Deborah snapped. No, you have housework days and fun days, and somehow the housework days land on me. My dad's face darkened. Your bind. You lied to get me here, used my medical training against me, and turned me into an unpaid maid after everything we've done for you, Histerted. What exactly have you done besides trick me into giving up my career and moving into a moldy basement? The basement apartment was a generous offer, my dad said, his face earning. Most kids your age would be grateful for free housing. I laughed. I worked from dawn until night. I clean your entire house, cook your meals, maintain your yard. A full-time housekeeper would cost Yao thousands per month. Family helps. Famila started, but I cut him off. Does it? Jack and Peter are family too, but they get to have their own livesteer, own careers, their own homes. They here helping your brother shave families, and I had a career, a life here, beautiful apartment overlooking the harbor, all of which I gave up because you lied about Deborah needing medical care. Deborah stood up her chair, scrapping against the floor. I do need care, just speckles. I have some good days. Good days. I pulled out my phone. Let's review your good days this week. Monday, tennis. Club Tuesday. Shopping at the mall for 4 hours Wednesday. Hosting bridge club Thursday. Lunch with friends. Friday, planning your cruise for next spring. Sounds like Ariel helped. My dad shifted. Done comfortably. Now Anna May spent 8 years building my career, at years becoming someone patients schooled rely on in their worst moments, and used that against me. You used my compassion as a weapon. We needed help. No, you wanted helpers. A difference. You could have hired someone. You could have asked you could have made any number of reasonable arrangements. Instead, you manipulated your daughter into Beckham. We gave you a place to stay, a moldy basement with a bathroom that barely works, while I clean your entire house and listen to constant criticism about how I can't do anything right. My hands were shaking as I pushed back from the table. The magnitude of their deception was finally hitting me full force. You know what the worst part is? I continued, my voice quivering. If you'd actually need help, I would have found a way to support you without destroying my own life. I would have helped coordinate care, found resources, made arrangement space. That's what family really does. Where are you going? My dad demanded ASE, headed for the basement stairs to pack me bags. I'm done being your free housekeeper. I threw clothes into me suitcase while they followed. Met downstairs, both talking at once. Luna watched from her perch on the dresser, twitching as the argument escalated. You can't just leave, my dad insisted. What about your obligations? My obligations? What about your... Parents are supposed to want their children to succeed, not manipulate the minto. Giving up their dreams so never made you give up anything to... Interjected. You chose to commend false pretenses because you lead about needing medical care. Lower your voix. My dad warned, this isn't how we're... You to behave. No, you raised me to be easily manipulated, to always put everyone else's needs before my own, to feel guilty for having a successful career instead of settling down to become Samianifos. Luna jumped into her career without Being prompted. Smart cat knew we were living if you walk out that door deep. Threatened. Don't expect to be. I stopped packing and turned to face them both. That's your solution. More threats, more manian. We, your family, my dad know your people who took advantage of someone who cared enough to comb. When you called, who used my compassion against that's not family, that's exploitation. You're being dramatic. Snapped Frank Teller. She's been dramatic, but something, in my words, Mustafa finally gotten through to him. He was looking at me differently, seeing me's an adult for maybe the first time. We could discuss this calmly. He'll come up with a better arrangement. There is no arrangement. I'm going back to Boston, back to my career, back to people who actually respect him. Your old job probably isn't even available anymore, Deborah said smugly. Actually, it is. They've been holding my position, hoping I'd come back. Me supervisor called last week. That wiped the smug look off her face. You've been planning this? No, I've been waiting you to prove me wrong, to show Methis wasn't just about getting free housekeeping. I kept hoping there was more toys. I zipped up my suitcase and grabbed Luna's carrier. The weight of their deception, their manipulation, their casual cruelty, it all seemed to lift Assy. Headed for the stairs, Deborah called after me. No, I replied, not looking back. I regretting you manipulate me in the first place. I regret not seeing through your lease sooner, but leaving. That's the first right thing I've done since coming back here. The 2-hour drive back to Boston felt like breaking free from a mile, put more distance between me and their manipulation, their criticism, their casual cruelty. Luna slept peacefully in her carrier, probably evich to be leaving that Dambus. My dad alternated between guilt trips and angry demands that I had apparently called every relative in her contact list, spinning a story about how Ida abandoned them in their time of need. Me birth awkward texts asking me Torquensida, though notably neither Ofto offered to help in my place, but were other messages to Sarah had already lined up viewings for 3 apartments near the hospital. My old supervisor confirmed my position was still open, even offering a raise. Told me back. My colleagues sent texted messages about my return. Stopped at a hotel halfway through the drive, needing time to process everything Zitane on the clean. Hotel bed with Luna exploring her new surroundings. I finalite myself cry, not from sadness or guilt, from relief and lingering anger at how thoroughly they'd manipulated. My dad called again around midnight. Your stepmom is very upset. He started ish, or is she just angry that her free housekeeper left? Anna, please, we can work something out. Like what? Another guilt trip about? Family? Lies about Deborah's health. We donate help, then hire someone like ever the family does when they need assistance. Stop expecting your deterdo sacrifice her life because you don't want to pay for household help. He was quiet for a moment. I didn't think. No, you didn't think. You didn't think about what you were asking me to give up. You didn't think about how it would feel to be like a servant in my own family's home. You just saw an opportunity to get free help and took it. It's not fair. Neither was lying to get him there. Neither was watching Deborah did. While Shepley tennis and planche crucis, neither was expecting me to live in a moldy basement while my brothers got to keep their lives. After I hung up, my Aunt Elin called my mom's sister, who'd always seen Deborah's act. I'm proud of Ayush said simply, it's about time someone stood up to family doesn't see it that way. The family is used to enabling divorce. But you know what? Let them clean her house and maintain her garden and listen to her concentricism. See how long they last you us? Right, already. My brothers were getting calls about helping out, and suddenly they were too busy, too funny. How that worked back in Boston, my life rebuilt itself faster than I expected. The hospital welcomed me back with open arms. I found a sunny apartment in my old neighborhood, this time with a spare room for a home office. Sarah helped me replacing everything I'd left in storage at my dad's 2 weeks after I left, Deborah hosted a passive-aggressive plea on social media looking for reliable housekeeping help. Sadly, some people just didn't understand. Family obligations, and I'm chill though. These days have no sense of duty or responsibility. Comments were illuminating my cousin, Rachel, who'd claimed for them one summer in college, shared her own experience with Deborah, his passable standards and constant criticism. Others chimed in with the post backfired spectacular Levevin. A pattern of behavior I had known about my brothers started feeling pressure. Jack's wife finally called me. They want us to come clean every weekend. She said, Jack keeps smacking Gex cusses, but your dad is getting pushy. How did you stand it for so long? I didn't. I replied, that's why Elaf Peter lasted exactly one day trying to help them. He called me that. Evening Zandikal Deborah made me reorganize a pantry 4 times because they aligned perfectly. Then she complained about how I folded her sheets. Dad just sat there letting her crude. I had no idea what you were eating with me. Aunt Ellen kept me updated on the family fallout. Apparently 3 different housekeepers had quit after less than a week. Deborah's bridge Kluba's hearing the real story, damaging her carefully crafted image. My dad was finally facing consequences for his sibling behavior. They're realizing that professional help costs money. Ellen and apparently no one wants to work for them, even when they offer to pay. Or dad's actually doing his own laundry for the first time in 20 years. Supervisor called me into her office month after my return. I feared repercussions from leaving so abruptly bare, but instead she offered me a promotion. You were missed, she said simply, not just your skills, but your dedication to doing what's right. We need more nurses like you in leadership positions. That evening, I sat in my new apartment watching the sunset over the harbor. Luna sprawled contentedly on the sill. Both of us finally at peace. Me phone buzzed with another text from me dad. The house isn't the same with Deborah misses your help. I wrote back, I'm sure she does, but I'm not. For Sally and more. 6 months after leaving, I received an unexpected call from Jack's wife. Marie, you need to hear this, she said. I was at your dad's house dropping off some paperwork, and I overheard Deborah complaining to her sister Abotho. She can't find any housekeeper willing to stay. She actually said Anna was so much better, at least she couldn't quit. When I criticized her work because I wasn't even surprised anymore. Did Dad say anything? That's the interesting part. He actually spoke up, told her she was the reason they couldn't keep help, and maybe if she treated you better, none of this would have happened. The house apparently didn't run itself after all. Through family gossip, he learned they'd finally had to hire a professional cleaning service at premium rates. Because of their reputation, Deborah had to start doing her own laundry because no one would do it to her standards. My dad had to learn basic cooking skills. My Aunt Ellen sent him a photo of their once pristine Gardino, overgrown, because Deborah's health issues prevented her from maintaining it, but she also refused to let anyone else doubt her precious roses. Karma. Ellen texted alongside thief, my new flourish like those neglected roses. Never would I earned my promotion, started teaching part-time, and even began dating Saminon, who respected my career. And at Christmas, my Aunt Ellen hosted the family gathering, breaking years of tradition for the first time. Deborah wasn't in charge of the festivities, couldn't criticize Siri's contributions to the meal assigned seating to show Hoe's in or out of favor. I attended bringing a store-bought pie that would have scandalized Blashinisis. My brothers and their wives seemed relieved to have a drama-free holiday. My dad came alone, apparently had refused to attend if she could, and thus during a quiet moment, my dad pulled me aside. I've been thinking about what happened, he said, looking older than remembered I. Watched you build your career, become someone patients depend on, create a life you were proud of. And instead of being proud to, I helped Tyrradone. Why? I asked, why did you let Etha pawn? He saw it was easier to sacrifice your happiness than deal with divorcements. I'm not proud of that. It wasn't quite an apology, but it was more acknowledgement than I'd ever expected. Weren't close anymore. Might never begin, but at least there was honesty between us. Later, helping Alan with dishes, I found myself smiling at how different life felt when you weren't trying to meet impossible standards or win approval from people who'd never give it. You know what the best revenge is? Ellen asked, handing me a plate to dry hats. That living well, and from where I'm standing, you're doing just fine at